People who actually got married on an if we're both still single when we're 35 we'll get married deal. What's your story? Two of my friends have one of this. I hope they realize they are made for each other before then though. Family friends had this pact. We were at her 30th and her boyfriend at the time proposed. Her best friend, with whom she had the pact, was gutted. He too had a ring in his pocket. We know because he showed my dad. My partner and I were close friends for 12 years before we got married. Through many friendships and relationships with other people, including one of us following a former lover across the country and the other being briefly engaged, we stayed just friends for a very long time. On New Year's Eve in 2007-8, at the ripe old age of 23, we drunkenly made a pact to get married to each other if we weren't married by 30. Long story short, we didn't start dating until we both turned 30, but we got married pretty quickly after we started dating. Just celebrated 5 years of marriage, and we have a 2-year-old. It's unconventional, but so are we, and it's ours. Not exactly the same, but when I was 21 and he was 24 I said to my friend, if we're not married by the time you're 30 do you want to get married? He said no. Well, we started actually dating a couple months after and this year he will be 30 in May and our wedding is planned for June. Pending COVID-19 lets us gather 30 people and travel within our country. My really good friend and I were joking about this in our early 20s and I got an idea how she really felt about me when she said, yeah, if we're both single at 70 let's get married. Weird couple my wife knew had such a pact and followed through. Girl was a really introverted, quiet, homely type. Sweetest girl, but she never had a boyfriend as far as I knew. And we saw her off and on for 6 or 7 years. Then suddenly out of nowhere she invited us to her wedding. Anyways, it was to a guy we had met a couple of times who was one of her friends who seemed very much like her. My wife teased her that more must have been going on all that time, but she was straight up about it and said no. They just decided it was time. Conversation was something like, yeah, you know how people have pacts to get married if neither of them are till they hit. Well, we just decided it really wasn't going to happen for either of us. And to cut that short, basically we were just like, cool, and then left it at that. Anyways, she married him. They looked happy. The speeches were a bit odd. They didn't really talk about love but a lot about how they were marrying their best friend. They are still together. It's gotta be at least 5 years. And they have a little kid. Last we saw them they looked happy and that's all that matters really. Obligatory not me but a friend. Disclaimer. She married a college friend 3 years ago at the age of 33. Their bet was to get married if they're both single at 33 and the intention was to basically prank their parents by going through with it. They intended to be married for several months and then just casually mention it, and later just get it annulled. So they went to the courthouse with a pair of friends, got married and then she moved into his apartment. Thing was they'd been friends with benefits for years when they were both single, and living together was so nice that they just stayed together. They're expecting their first kid in a few months. If we are still married when we are 36, we'll get a divorce. One of my friends from high school had a deal with this with her high school boyfriend. Thus, when they turned 30, they had a baby together. Unfortunately, she was also a drug addict and ended up committing a felony, going to prison. And I'm pretty sure the kid is with him and even though she's out of prison now she can't have her daughter with her at whatever housing she is at. Do not recommend. A coworker of mine up and left his girlfriend who was also working there, of 6 years to move from AK to FL to go through with the pact he made with the other girl in high school. I honestly don't know how they are doing. The ex however lost a 185 pound stresser so I'm glad she's doing exceptionally well. Our promise wasn't for when we're 35 but 30. We have been friends for years before we made the joke promise and have been friends for 11 years. Became friends when I was 17, she was 16. Through many friendships and relationships with other people, including one of us almost getting engaged to a former lover, we still remained friends. When I clocked 20 if I recall correctly, we jokingly promised to get married to each other if we weren't married by 30. Long story short, I'm 28 now and she's 26. We didn't start dating until last year and are supposed to be getting married in June, if coronavirus lockdown lets us. We went through a lot of maturity and personal changes in our early 20s, and it was so admirable watching how she grew and became Wove. Over the course of 5 years watching her grow, I knew she was and still is the one. No regrets here. Edit. Mwokisai not Oswove. I did. But we got married 10 years earlier. We met at an Ink Master finale. We immediately connected. He lived in New York, capital I, Florida. I went back home and we kept in touch. Made a promise if by the time we were 35 we'd marry each other. I was 25 at the time. Things intensified so much we truly believed we were meant for each other. I moved to Illinois to take care of my sick grandma. 3 months after meeting he flew there to visit and we got married. After a few more visits he moved there too. 4 years later and we have 2 kids. We ended up getting married a lot sooner. He wasn't necessarily waiting around for me, but I realized I'd be devastated if he ended up with someone else and no longer had him as a constant friend in my life. Don't let the good ones get away. We've been married 13 years now and never regretted a minute of it. I had that deal with a girl I was so in love with in HS college. I, an idiot, lost touch and married someone else in my 20s. That went down in tremendous flames, and as far as I know she was still single. We haven't talked for many years. Not the same but similar story. My favorite animal is an otter, and I'm slightly obsessed with them. I have otter blankets, pillowcases, mousepad, shirts, tattoo, etc. My best friend when I was younger lived about an hour away. We met at church camp when we were 7, but we kept in contact once we both got phones in 6th grade. Once 8th grade also hit, I asked my best friend at the time if we ever got married in the future, "Would you let me have a pet otter?" She laughed about it and said sure. If we get married you can have a pet otter. Fast forward to today. We are engaged and I still plan on keeping her to her word. TLDR asked my best friend in 8th grade if she would allow me to have a pet otter if we got married, and she agreed. We are now engaged and I plan on having one still. Note, I would own one in the acts of conservation of the species for those that cannot be rehabilitated. A friend and I had an agreement we'd marry if we were both single when he was 53 and I 49. Last year I was the witness to his marriage and signed their license. I was 47. 2 months later he gets super nasty with me and accused me of doing drugs. I was using CBD oil for pain. He's been nothing but nasty with me since and I've cut ties with him. I now see how he was manipulative and mentally abusive about my mental and physical issues. I feel I dodged a bullet. Thankful and grateful it was her and not me. I've no other single male friends to make such a pact with. Wish there was after reading some of these answers. Yeah, that's not a good idea. I agreed this with someone when I was 21 for when we were both 30. Actually we ended up dating IRL for like a year at 25 and it was a complete and utter ducking disaster after the first 3 months. Turns out the reason she was still single was that she was that. While to everyone else she met, she was extremely sweet and caring. After 3 months into any relationship, she turned into a complete and utter neurotic psychopath, as in, probably down as a so and relentlessly bullied everyone she had ever dated until either they dumped her or she dumped them if she thought that would cause more emotional pain. It clicked when I got speaking to one of her exes who had had basically exactly the same experience. Was happily married since 29. So wouldn't have come up anyway. But ducking hell. Dodge a bullet there. I upfront told my husband when we started dating I will want to get married and have kids at some point if this works out. I'm being honest. If you don't want that, let me know now. He said I'm ready to see where this goes and if we haven't killed each other in 3 years, let's do it. All the way through dating and our first 3 years he kept saying let me know if I ever do anything that annoyed you. Don't keep it to yourself. Okay, so I kept waiting to find something. It never came. We never argued, never got bored and always looked forward to what the future held for us. Our 3rd year came around and we had already had little chat about if we wanted to get married. We had just moved into a new place so I proposed art with an omelette. About 3 months later I was pregnant. We were trying, and 6 months later we married. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary with our 10-month-old daughter. Everything is amazing. We've never felt so complete. Still not argued. Still excited about our future and still haven't found anything that annoys me about him. My wife and I had a pact like that for if we were 26 and single. This pact was from middle school and we kinda went separate ways after high school and reconnected when we were almost 25. We both had feelings for each other and started to date and remembered our pact. But that's not what made us get married. We're extremely happy with each other and even work together every day. We can joke with each other and tell each other whatever is bothering us at that moment and work to figure out a solution. We are a pretty damn good team in life and at our job too. My husband and I met in high school. We promised each other if we weren't married by the time I turned 20. I know kinda young. We would get married. We started dating right before I turned 21 and have been married for almost 6 years. We just knew we were right for each other. Me and my lifelong friend. She's only 6 months older than me. Our parents were friends at the time of our births. But me and her, both 21 right now, have this pact for when we hit our 30s. Needless to say, she is in a very great relationship with my good friend. And I'm waiting for my time to meet someone. I met my fiance study abroad and we became very good friend. I would say best friend. We had a low-key relationship while we were there. We were young. We just make out and hold hands when our friends aren't around. We did it because both of us know that when the program ends, we will go back to our home country and it wouldn't work if we date. I was jokingly say when we are 30 and single, let's get married. We stay friend over the years. Fast forward to 2018. I got out of a relationship and she was healing from her last relationship. We get reconnect and talk more over a few weeks. I brought up the pact we made 7 years back. Now, we are engaged and soon to be married. If I could wish for a perfect woman, it would be her. Edit. I made a mistake in the year. My fiance read this and she laughed. BC I made a mistake. She still love me. I have a lot of female friends for some reason. And I've been told this a few times. Gonna break so many damn hearts at 40, lem tell you. Still, I'm 28 so I got a while. I made this pact. And I'm not married yet. So Jess F, if you're still out there girl, call me. You know who this is. Yeah, I almost did. Had a pact with my best friend we would get married at 28. But then he realized he was gay. I am however a bridesmaid at his wedding and I'll have one heck of a speech. Haha. Who wants to make this deal with me? It'd be a knockoff Married at First Sight kind of thing. I'm a woman with good boobs, nice butt, and white teeth. I made this deal with someone when I was in my 20s but I haven't been in contact with this guy for years. I don't even remember his last name at this point. I did get married at 36 to a man I've been with since I was 32. My wife and I had this deal when we were 27. But then I just asked her out and we were in a long distance relationship for about 3 months, then we ended up breaking up. After about 4 years, we tried again and were in communication until we fell in love again and still in LDR. This time we were able to work it out. We got married this past January as the world is ending. I guess we made it just in time for our 35th birthdays. Man, I hadn't realized this was such a common thing. I'm one of the ones who had I guess you'd call it also half-hearted. Mostly kidding kind of an ASA agreement. Mine was made in high school and targeted age 30. I think it was. But we slowly drifted out of contact during college since we ended up in different areas of the country and eventually her parents moved. I don't even know if she remembered it by then. But it's one of those things where I sometimes wonder what might have come of it. Because we clicked pretty well whenever we hung out. At 14 years old, me and my high school boyfriend agreed to marry each other when we were 25. By 25 we had stayed together through school, college, university and starting careers. We got officially engaged, bought a house and planned the wedding. Then he left me for a woman from work. He's married to her now. I'm not married. Not me but my mom. My parents got divorced 2 years ago because both my parents were very unhappy with one another. My mom recently reconnected with her old boyfriend from high school who, in his own words, would never marry anyone else and would wait for her to be with him, and would have no one else. Well, he heard about my mom's divorce, keep in mind my mom is 50, on Facebook and reached out to her and they have recently started dating again and are already madly in love. I'm really happy for her. My dad also found someone, but that's irrelevant to the question stated, lol. I have a pact like this. Although I think we said 50. He is my best friend. And I am not sure how serious he is about that. But he is an amazing guy. And said this to comfort me because I had a really hard breakup. And I felt like I'd be alone forever. I don't think it'll ever happen. And I would not want it to happen. ATM. Can it tell what 50 might bring? But I really appreciate him saying that. Because it made me feel like at least someone would like me eventually. My boyfriend and I at one point decided if we never got girlfriends we'd move in together. And maybe get married. Thought I was gay at the time. We were best friends. We spent tons of time together and many people assumed we were dating. He liked me. And I loved him more than anyone in the world. Except in a friend kinda way. We started talking about this potential future quite often. At one point he mentioned that it definitely wouldn't happen if I got a girlfriend, and that's when I decided I didn't need a girlfriend. Eventually we started fake dating because people kept asking if we were, and it seemed like it'd be easier to explain when we finally did move in together. Within about a week I knew I was in love, and probably had been for quite a while. I love him so much and he's still my best friend, and I'm super excited for when he gets out of college and we can finally move in together and hopefully eventually get married. My wife and I said this when we were work friends. About 23 years old. We were married by 30. And we remembered that we said that to each other during our wedding planning. I had a jokey deal like this with a FWB about 10-15 years ago. We've lost touch but still have a few mutual friends. I have a fiance registered, signed, and my third kid on the way. He got married a few years ago and just had his first kid. The kid has my name. Probably coincidence. I had a friend who I made a pact with like this. He was 6 years older than me. I was so in love with him. But I know he only saw me as a best friend or little sister type. But he knew how much I loved him. Not in like a sexual way. I just really cared deeply for him as a person. We were talking and decided that if by the time I was 30 and we were both single, we'd get married. Well, 2012, November. He died in a car wreck. I turned 30 this past year, and I'm still single, though I do have a 7-year-old son I raised by myself who he did know and love before he passed, and it really hit me hard. He was in a relationship in 2012 when he died, but who knows what would have happened in these past 7 years. I could have married my best friend. At least I know he visits me from time to time and I think of him often. I can't imagine being the party in this arrangement that actually comes to collect when the time comes. No, but I'm currently accepting applications. I'm good at cleaning and baking. Some of my skills include being awkward and losing thing. My goals are to create goals and beat the world record for most junior mint in my mouth at the same time. I was once able to run for 3 consecutive minutes without getting winded and with only 6 breaks. I only eat corn chips and salsa. I only drink liquor. Get your applications in early because there is only one opening to spend the rest of your life with all that I offer. Anyone, please. My grandfather once hinted that he and my grandma had such an agreement, but I don't think he ever explicitly acknowledged it, despite hours of me grilling them about family history. Just one comment, once, about how if she didn't marry before she was 35, she'd have been unmarriageable, and that she refused to consider dating anyone but him. He had been born in 1910, he in 1911. They married in 1942. My father, who was born in 1943, was her second pregnancy, as the first one was stillborn. I have no idea if that was a full-term pregnancy, in which case she was pregnant when they married, or much shorter, as it was one of 4 that they had. I only mention it because it's the only thing that speaks against there being one of these arrangements. They had known each other for some years. I don't know how many, but I have photos of both of them with my grandpa's then girlfriend that he dated for 4 years. And my grandpa used to talk about how my grandma always did things she wasn't supposed to do with her heart condition, like skiing. Despite having many photos dating from 1943, when my dad was born, there are none of her doing things with her own friends, anything related to skiing, etc. Their relationship was companionable and friendly, highly cooperative, with few arguments, but also lacking in outwardly affection. They liked each other, had great camaraderie, did everything together, especially since grandma didn't drive, and remained married until she died around 1978 or so. My husband and I made a joke in high school that we would get married at 30 if we were single. We were friends through school but not super close or even part of the same circle. We both had boyfriend-girlfriend at the time as well. After we graduated school I broke up with my boyfriend of 5 years. Same one I had when we made the joke, and made a soppy Facebook status about hating men. My husband messaged me saying that I can't hate them all and there has to be a few exceptions. We've been together almost 6 years, married for almost 2 and have a baby on the way. We aren't 30 yet but it was the best decision of my life. Looking back at it, I think we both must have had a thing for each other. Otherwise we never would have made the joke. Not so much of a marriage deal but more a mutual understanding that we wanted to be together. I'd known her for years and we'd tried dating a few times to various degrees but ultimately she wasn't sure about kids and I always knew that I wanted a family. We were lucky that we stayed close friends after we dated and she was by my side through a lot. I found a beautiful girl I saw myself with for the rest of my life but it wasn't meant to be and she left me at the altar. Afterwards I met the love of my life and we had 2 beautiful kids together but cancer took her away from me far too soon. After some years of healing and grieving I eventually went back to the first girl and we've been together ever since. Weird, I said I do anal the day we turned 35. 35 came around and we were still single. Needless to say he couldn't walk the next day. I jokingly proposed this to my friend and then I went, "Oh yeah, but you'll be 35. And that, kids, is how I met your Aunt Robin." I had a deal to marry my friend by the time she was 35. She's 33 and married to me. I have a lesbian friend who married her gay friend. They met through common friends and they traveled together as a group. As years went by, their travel buddies got married until it was just the 2 of them traveling together. They never really came out because they live in a Muslim country and same-sex relationship is a taboo. Every year, they would sit down and schedule their trips. In one of their planning sessions they realized that it has become difficult to set an itinerary because of their conflicting schedules. So decided to just get married to marry their calendars. They have been married for more than 15 years. Still traveling extensively. I didn't but we still meet up every year for a drink date. It's really cute. We'd have been good for each other. But I think our paths just diverge and we're both pretty happy as is. Not my comment but saw it on an older post of the same question. Original deleted but here's the screenshot. Warning, not for the faint of heart.